I opened the door to see how far I could go. You ever stand on the edge of something you've wanted for so long, but were never quite sure you'd have the courage to see through? That was me that night. My heart was pounding before I even touched the doorknob. I didn't know if I was about to step into a memory I'd treasure forever, or into something I'd regret. But I did know one thing: once I opened that door, there was no going back. I'd already said yes hours earlier, but reality was different from fantasy. The room I had prepared looked nothing like my usual space. It was softer, warmer, almost dreamlike. Clean sheets, candlelight flickering on the walls, and shadows that seemed to move with the quiet sway of the flames. I'd arranged it all myself, fussing over every detail like a hostess who couldn't quite sit still. Every adjustment was an excuse to keep my hands busy and my mind from spiraling. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about candles or straightened pillows. This was about me stepping past the invisible line I'd drawn for myself years ago. When I finally stopped pacing, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. The dress, black, elegant, with lace that hinted more than it revealed, fit as if it had been made for me. My fingers grazed the edge of the neckline, my skin warm beneath my touch. I turned, catching glimpses of myself from different angles, the reflection almost daring me to go through with it. A mix of nerves and anticipation coiled in my chest. My breath came shallow, like my body already knew what was coming. I walked toward the door, then stopped halfway, then back again like my legs were having their own debate. The clock's steady ticking reminded me, the time I'd been waiting for was now. And then, the sound. 3 slow knocks, deep and deliberate. My pulse jumped. My hand hovered over the handle. On the other side of that door stood 2 men, Daniel and Mark. I'd known their names long before this night. We'd crossed paths more than once, shared glances that lingered too long, conversations that hinted at more than they said. Daniel was taller, his presence filling any room he entered. When I finally opened the door, he stepped forward first, his eyes steady, unreadable. He didn't ask if I was ready, he seemed to already know. There was no rush in his movements, but there was purpose. He guided me into the room with a calm confidence that made the air feel heavier, more charged. Mark followed quietly, his gaze lingering on me in a way that sent a shiver down my spine. He had a slower energy, like he was taking in every detail, weighing it, savoring it. For a moment, none of us spoke. The silence was thick enough to feel on my skin. Daniel moved closer, his hand brushing against mine, a touch so subtle it was almost nothing, and yet it said everything. I didn't pull away. Mark stepped to my other side, his presence steady, grounding. I was standing between them now, and I felt the space around me shrink, the room itself seeming smaller. My breath was uneven. My heart was not just beating, it was echoing in my ears. Daniel's voice finally broke the quiet, low and measured. "Are you sure?" I swallowed hard, the weight of the choice pressing against me one last time. "Yes," I said, barely more than a whisper. And just like that, the hesitation inside me dissolved. The moments that followed blurred together, not because they lacked clarity, but because they were too full. Every detail, every look, every slight brush of fingertips felt amplified. They didn't rush. They didn't need to. Every second was deliberate, every movement drawing me deeper into the moment, past the point of turning back. I couldn't see where this was going, but I knew I didn't want it to end. The tension wound tighter, each shift of their position keeping me on the edge of guessing what would happen next. At one point, I closed my eyes, not to hide, but to feel everything more sharply. Without sight, the sound of their footsteps seemed louder, their nearness more potent. I could sense them moving around me, exchanging unspoken cues that made me feel both surrounded and safe. And then, the air shifted again. A third figure stepped forward from the shadows, Ethan. I hadn't been expecting him. His presence was quieter, but somehow the most intense. The 3 of them formed a silent circle around me, and I was acutely aware of every heartbeat, every breath. No one said a word. They didn't need to. The unspoken understanding between us was stronger than anything words could build. It was as though the entire night had been leading to this moment, and all I could do was surrender to it. I don't know how long we stood there, minutes or hours, but time had stopped meaning anything. It wasn't about the candles or the shadows anymore. It was about how far I was willing to let myself go, how much I was willing to feel, and the realization that I didn't have to keep the walls up anymore. When it was over, the quiet returned. The candles still flickered, the room still smelled faintly of lavender, and I was still standing in the center, changed, though I couldn't yet say how. The door was still open behind them, but I knew I wouldn't be the same person who'd walked through it.